Welcome to the Food for All series. I'm Pippa, author of The Intolerant Gourmet, a cookbook full of gluten, dairy, egg, soy and yeast-free recipes and packed full of delicious food. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to make jam tarts and the elusive gluten-free short crust pastry. So first, I'm going to show you how to make really good gluten-free and dairy-free short crust pastry. People who go gluten-free often find it really difficult to make pastry, and that's because without the gluten in the flour, there's nothing for the pastry to bind properly with, and you'll find that it's crumbly or too hard. This pastry, I promise, is foolproof and really easy to make. So into the base of the food processor, we put gluten-free plain flour. This is a mix of rice, cassava and potato flour that you can buy pre-mixed. So we put that in, and then to that, we add a little thing called xantham gum. Now, xanthan gum is a corn derivative, and what it does is it helps everything bind together. It gives gluten-free products their crumb, and it helps gluten-free pastry roll. So it's pretty important. This is going to be a sweet short crust pastry. We put 2 tablespoons of caster sugar. And then in this bowl, I have a combination of dairy-free margarine. I'm using a sunflower margarine because I think it's the best one. You want to try and get non-hydrogenated and trans fat free, which is pretty easy these days, so keep an eye out for it. And I'm also putting in something called Trex, which is just vegetable shortening. And it's the combination of these two things that will give that really nice quality short texture to the pastry, and it's really important. So we just cut it in, even though we're going to pulse it. You don't want to put it in big blobs, you want to put it in bit by bit. And if you were doing this by hand, you'd whisk together the flour and the xanthan gum and the sugar in a large mixing bowl, and then you'd cut in the fats like I'm doing now, and then you'd use a palette knife to cut the fats into the flour until you had a breadcrumb-like consistency. For a full list of ingredients, just check the description box. I'm going to put the lid on this and I'm going to pulse it until you have a fine breadcrumb-like consistency. So you'll see that it's turned quite golden, which is the sunflower margarine, but also that you have a fine breadcrumb and it's just starting to pull together, which is pretty important. There's a bit of extra fat there, so we'll just give it another quick pulse to make sure that everything's combined. And then all we do is we've got ice cold water. This is the one thing that is really similar to normal short crust pastry making, in that you want to make sure that your fats and that the water are nice and cold. So I'm going to start by putting 2 tablespoons. Okay, so I'm going to pulse it. Right. So our dough has started to pull together. We can scoop it out with our hands, and then we'll place it into this mixing bowl. So I've transferred the gluten-free pastry into a bowl, and literally you just want to knead it very lightly. Knead is probably too strong a word. You just want to move it around and use your hands to shape it until you feel that it's got some elasticity. And this is what the xanthan gum does. So the more you use your hands on it, the more the xanthan gum relaxes. So I've shaped it into a ball. I've got 2 layers of cling film, because short crust pastry and dairy-free pastry has a slightly different consistency. It can get a little tacky. So if you roll it out between cling film or even grease-proof paper, it will really make all the difference. I recommend you do it. So we shape it into a ball, flatten it slightly with our hands, and then drape over the top layer of cling film, and then get your rolling pin and very simply roll it into a large circle, whatever size you need. You want it to be around 4 millimeters thick. I know that sounds quite specific, but any more and it's a bit too thick, and any thinner and you risk it cracking. So just try and get under 1/2 centimetre, but definitely no thinner than 3 millimeters, say. So finish rolling out your pastry and then peel off the top layer of cling film and start cutting out your tart shapes. And use just a flat nose, snub nose knife to help lift it away from the cling film. Peel it away and then fit it in to your tart case. And then continue this using your cutter and ball up and re-roll any leftover pastry and carry on until you've used up all of the pastry and made as many tarts as you can. So we'll fit our last bit of pastry into the tart tin, just pushing the edges down carefully as you go and filling any gaps or cracks that might have appeared with a little excess pastry. And then you're ready to fill the tart bases with jam. So I'm using strawberry. You can use a mixture, you can use any flavour you like. So we'll fill the tarts with a heaped teaspoon. I mean, this is all dependent on how big your pastry cases are. And for more recipes like this, hit the subscribe button. And so these are now ready to go into the oven at 180 degrees for around 15 minutes, but keep an eye on them. Now that our jam tarts are out of the oven, we're going to add another little spoonful of jam to the hot jam that's already in the tarts and just stir them together gently. And then we'll let them cool and set, and this will add an extra jammy layer, which is what you really want in a jam tart. Once you've added the extra jam, just leave the tarts to cool for a couple of minutes in their tin and then transfer to a wire rack and leave to cool completely before serving. I've got lots more gluten, dairy and egg-free treats on offer, so if you want to see my chocolate brownies, then give me a thumbs up. So here are my jam tarts, cooled and ready to eat. I'm going to go and enjoy one with a nice cup of tea. I hope you've enjoyed the recipes and join me again for the next episode of my Food for All series.